Imagine for a moment that today is your last day. What would you do? What would you stop fearing? What would you finally pursue without hesitation? Now let that realization settle in, because the truth is we're all closer to the end than we think, and that's the most powerful freedom you'll ever have. Life is a precious gift, yet it's one that we often take for granted. We go about our days absorbed in routines, chasing goals, and trying to manage our endless responsibilities. But in the midst of all this, there's one universal truth that we all tend to forget. We are going to die. This may sound unsettling at first, but it's the most profound and liberating truth we can accept. By embracing the inevitability of our mortality, we begin to see life with a clear perspective. When we acknowledge that death is not just an abstract concept, but a certainty for each of us, we are faced with a profound choice. Do we continue living in a way that avoids the truth, or do we face it head on and allow it to guide us towards something more meaningful? Too often we live as if we have all the time in the world, postponing dreams, delaying the things that matter, and giving in to distractions. We hide behind the illusion of endless tomorrows, believing there will always be another chance. But the truth is, tomorrow is never promised. We cannot control when our time will come. This realization should not bring fear or anxiety. Instead, it should fuel a sense of urgency and purpose. Once we accept that our time is finite, we no longer have the luxury of postponing what truly matters. Death doesn't need to be something that weighs us down. Instead, it can serve as a powerful motivator. By remembering that our days are numbered, we free ourselves from the inertia of procrastination and begin to act. This awareness of mortality invites us to prioritize what's truly important. Are you living authentically? Are you doing what you love? Are you spending your time with the people who matter most? Or are you caught up in the trivial, the insignificant, and the things that will ultimately fade into the background? Accepting death doesn't mean we need to live recklessly or without care. Instead, it means we should live with intention. It means understanding that every moment is precious and that we should make decisions with the awareness that time is limited. When we embrace the fact that we are all going to die, we can stop wasting time on things that don't serve our purpose or make us happy. And this is where the power lies. By acknowledging the inevitability of our mortality, we gain the courage to take risks, to follow our passions, and to step outside our comfort zones. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of missing out all start to seem insignificant when we realize we are living on borrowed time. We have no more time to waste on fear, comparison, or unnecessary doubt. The reality of death, when fully embraced, does not limit us, it empowers us. It gives us permission to live fully, unapologetically, and with purpose. So, instead of avoiding the thought of death, let it become a source of motivation. Let it remind you to live boldly and without regret, knowing that each breath you take is one closer to the end. And with that knowledge, let's make each moment count. The idea of accepting death may seem morbid or unsettling at first, but within it lies a profound freedom that can transform the way we live. Death is the ultimate certainty, the one thing that connects all of us, regardless of our circumstances, our achievements, or our status. And yet, most of us avoid thinking about it, pushing it to the back of our minds as if pretending it doesn't exist will somehow make us invincible. However, the opposite is true. When we refuse to accept that death is a part of life, we inadvertently live in fear. Fear of failure, fear of missing out, fear of judgment, and fear of losing what we value. Most all of these are driven by our subconscious desire to avoid confronting our mortality. But when we finally embrace the inevitability of death, we realize that the very thing we fear can actually be the key to unlocking our fullest potential. The freedom that comes with accepting death is not about living recklessly or abandoning all responsibility. It's about shedding the weight of worry and embracing the truth that we are free from the illusion of infinite time. In fact, when we confront our mortality, we liberate ourselves from the things that hold us back. Fear of what others think, the need for external validation, and the pressure to conform, all of these lose their power when we realize that none of them matter in the grand scheme of life. We are living on borrowed time, and because of that, we no longer need to be slaves to the expectations of others or to societal standards of success. Think about it. When you accept that life is fleeting, you stop waiting for the right moment to act. There is no more perfect time to follow your dreams, to take that leap of faith, or to speak your truth. You realize that the right moment was always now. Why wait for tomorrow when you can start today? Why delay the things you're passionate about or the changes you want to make in your life? When you embrace the reality of death, you also begin to understand that the fear of loss is in many ways a fear of not fully living. We fear losing opportunities, relationships, or success, but these are only meaningful for truly living. The more we try to hold on to things, the more we can stifle the growth and joy that come with letting go and allowing ourselves to experience life in its purest form. Accepting death means acknowledging that life itself is constantly evolving and we cannot control it all. But we can choose how we respond to it. This understanding allows us to prioritize what truly matters. When we stop fearing death, we stop fearing life. We learn to appreciate the present moment and live it with intention. Each day becomes a gift, not to be squandered, but to be fully embraced. We are free to be unapologetically ourselves, to pursue our passions without hesitation, and to live in a way that feels aligned with our deepest truths. So paradoxically, the very acceptance of death leads to a deeper appreciation for life. It frees us from the chains of fear, the pressures of perfection, and the weight of what we should be doing. Instead, it empowers us to live authentically, to take risks, and to follow our hearts, because we understand that time is limited and every moment is precious. When we accept that death is inevitable, we are reminded that life, in all its unpredictability, is the most beautiful gift of all. The concept of having something to lose is one of the most paralyzing and limiting ideas that can hold us back in life. It instills a deep-rooted fear within us, making us cling to our comfort zones, our possessions, and our carefully constructed identities. We fear loss of status, loss of success, loss of relationships, or even loss of approval. This fear can trap us in a cycle of stagnation, where we avoid taking risks or pursuing our true desires simply because we believe we have too much to lose. But here's the liberating truth. When you come to terms with the reality that we are all going to die, you begin to understand that you have nothing to lose. And I don't mean this in a nihilistic or defeatist way. I mean it in the most empowering sense possible. The moment we embrace the inevitability of our mortality, we realize that everything we cling to is temporary. The material possessions, the titles, the accolades, the external markers of success, none of these will go with us when our time comes. In the grand scheme of life, they are fleeting. So if we are all headed toward the same inevitable destination, why are we so afraid to take the chances that could transform our lives? What is there truly to fear if we understand that nothing external can truly be lost forever? When you recognize that you have nothing to lose, you free yourself from the grip of fear. You no longer need to be attached to outcomes because you understand that life is about experiences, growth, and connection, not about accumulation. This realization is a game changer. Suddenly, you can step outside the expectations others have placed on you. You are no longer shackled by the need to be perfect or to meet societal standards. You can take bold steps toward your dreams, even if it means taking risks or stepping into the unknown. You are no longer bound by the fear of failure because failure, just like success, is temporary. In the grand timeline of your life, there is no such thing as losing when you understand that everything is part of the journey. What's more, when you recognize that you have nothing to lose, you start to appreciate the things that truly matter, the intangible aspects of life that can never be taken away. Your integrity, your values, your relationships, your love, your personal growth, these are the things that cannot be stripped from you. When you focus on these deeper, more meaningful elements, you no longer feel a need to hold on to superficial accomplishments or possessions. You are free to live in alignment with your heart, knowing that the most important aspects of your life will endure beyond your time here. This is where true freedom lies. It's in letting go of the things that have no real value in the end and focusing instead on what brings you joy, purpose, and fulfillment. So many of us hold back, believing we must protect what we have, when in reality, the more we let go of fear and attachment, the more room we create for what truly matters. When you acknowledge that you have nothing to lose, you are free to follow your heart unapologetically. The pressure to conform, to succeed in ways defined by others, disappears. You can boldly chase your passions, live authentically, and make decisions from a place of truth rather than fear. You can choose to invest your time, energy, and resources in what will bring you happiness, peace, and meaning, rather than things that simply keep you trapped in a cycle of getting more. The reality is this: you have nothing to lose except the fear of living a life that isn't your own. And in this freedom, you have everything to gain. One of the greatest barriers to living a truly fulfilled life is the suffocating weight of fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not measuring up to the standards set by others. And at the root of this fear often lies the unspoken pressure to conform to societal expectations. From a young age, we are taught what success looks like, what happiness is supposed to be, and what it means to be good enough. We are conditioned to follow a set path, to seek approval, and to live up to the standards of those around us. As we grow older, this conditioning becomes a powerful force that drives many of our decisions, sometimes without us even realizing it. But here's the truth: these societal expectations are often based on arbitrary standards that don't take into account what truly makes us happy or fulfilled. They are rooted in the desire to conform to a collective idea of success and approval, rather than the pursuit of what is meaningful to us individually. And when we allow these external expectations to dictate how we live, we often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of fear, never truly stepping into our full potential. What's more, when you recognize that you have nothing to lose, you start to appreciate the things that truly matter, the intangible aspects of life that can never be taken away. Your integrity, your values, your relationships, your love, your personal growth. These are the things that cannot be stripped from you. When you focus on these deeper, more meaningful elements, you no longer feel a need to hold on to superficial accomplishments or possessions. You are free to live in alignment with your heart, knowing that the most important aspects of your life will endure beyond your time here. This is where true freedom lies. It's in letting go of the things that have no real value in the end and focusing instead on what brings you joy, purpose, and fulfillment. So many of us hold back, believing we must protect what we have, when in reality, the more we let go of fear and attachment, the more room we create for what truly matters. When you acknowledge that you have nothing to lose, you are free to follow your heart unapologetically. The pressure to conform, to succeed in ways defined by others disappears. You can boldly chase your passions, live authentically, and make decisions from a place of truth rather than fear. You can choose to invest your time, energy, and resources in what will bring you happiness, peace, and meaning, rather than in things that simply keep you trapped in a cycle of getting more. The reality is this: you have nothing to lose except the fear of living a life that isn't your own. And in this freedom, you have everything to gain. One of the greatest barriers to living a truly fulfilled life is the suffocating weight of fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not measuring up to the standards set by others. And at the root of this fear often lies the unspoken pressure to conform to societal expectations. From a young age, we are taught what success looks like, what happiness is supposed to be, and what it means to be good enough. We are conditioned to follow a set path, to seek approval, and to live up to the standards of those around us. As we grow older, this conditioning becomes a powerful force that drives many of our decisions, sometimes without us even realizing it. But here's the truth: these societal expectations are often based on arbitrary standards that don't take into account what truly makes us happy or fulfilled. They are rooted in the desire to conform to a collective idea of success and approval, rather than the pursuit of what is meaningful to us individually. And when we allow these external expectations to dictate how we live, we often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of fear, never truly stepping into our full potential. When we embrace the reality of death, that our time is limited and there is no guarantee of tomorrow, we begin to see how little all of this truly matters. The things we fear, losing our reputation, our social status, our ability to fit in, are ultimately fleeting. The pressure to meet others' expectations starts to seem trivial when we realize that we only have so much time to live our authentic truth. Letting go of fear and societal expectations doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or losing all sense of direction. It means unburdening yourself from the need to seek validation or approval from outside forces. It means giving yourself permission to live in a way that feels true to your values, your passions, and your unique desires. It's about trusting that your own path, even if unconventional, is the right one for you. When you stop seeking approval from others, you start living from a place of internal alignment rather than external validation. The constant fear of being judged, criticized, or misunderstood begins to fade. Instead of basing your worth on what others think, you can focus on what makes you feel alive, what brings you joy, and what fuels your sense of purpose. This shift in mindset is liberating because it removes the weight of comparison and competition. No longer do you need to measure your success by the standards of others. You get to define what success means for you. Moreover, by letting go of fear and societal expectations, you free yourself to take risks. Fear of failure can be paralyzing, but when you recognize that the fear of not trying is greater than the fear of failing, you unlock the power to act. Failure becomes less about defeat and more about learning and growth. You no longer see mistakes as something to avoid, but as opportunities to evolve and better understand yourself. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who have made a significant impact. Whether in their careers, their communities, or their personal lives, chances are they weren't following the typical rules. They broke free from the mold and made choices based on their own values, even when society told them to conform. These people didn't let fear of failure or judgment hold them back. They let their hearts guide them, and in doing so, they created a life that was uniquely their own. And so can you. By letting go of fear and societal expectations, you free yourself to pursue what truly lights you up. You give yourself permission to follow your dreams, take bold steps, and create a life that is a true reflection of who you are. The more you do this, the more you realize that the only thing you ever had to fear was not living authentically. You are not here to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. You are here to create your own story, to live your truth, and to follow the path that speaks to your heart. Let go of the fear and expectations that weigh you down and step into the life you were always meant to live. One of the most profound sources of inner conflict we face in life arises when we are disconnected from our heart's true desires. As we grow older, we are conditioned to follow external rules, meet societal expectations, and prioritize logic and security over passion. We are told to play it safe, to choose the practical path and to put our dreams aside for the sake of responsibility. But the truth is, when we ignore the deep, unspoken desires of our hearts, we begin to experience a profound sense of emptiness and dissatisfaction. We may achieve success in external terms, money, status, and accolades, but if those achievements are not aligned with our heart's true calling, they feel hollow. The act of trusting and following your heart is not a call for recklessness or abandoning your responsibilities. It's about living authentically and making choices that resonate with your deepest passions and values. The heart knows what brings us joy, what feels right, and what fills us with purpose. Yet, so often we ignore or suppress this inner guidance because we fear the unknown or worry that others won't understand. But the greatest regret we can have is not living the life that feels most true to ourselves. We are here for a limited time, and to spend that time chasing someone else's idea of success is a waste of our unique gifts. When we trust our hearts, we tap into a wellspring of energy, creativity, and courage that allows us to break free from the chains of fear, doubt, and external validation. The heart's desires are not selfish. They are the very thing that will bring us the fulfillment we seek. Often, the path that speaks to our hearts feels uncertain or scary because it is not the safe option. But it is in taking the leap and trusting in that inner voice that we find true growth. When you follow your heart, you are aligning with your authentic self. And when you align with your authentic self, the energy and passion you put into your endeavors are unmatched. Living authentically is a process of surrender. It means letting go of the need for control, the need to follow a prescribed plan, and the need to please others. It's about trusting that the right path will reveal itself when you start taking steps in the direction of what feels right to you. This doesn't mean ignoring reason or responsibility. It means listening to the quiet voice inside you that knows what will truly bring you happiness and fulfillment. There's a deep wisdom in our hearts that often goes ignored in the hustle and bustle of life. But when we start paying attention to that inner wisdom, we can make decisions that honor who we truly are. When we follow our heart's desires, we stop living for the approval of others. We stop making choices based on fear of failure or judgment. Instead, we act from a place of clarity, knowing that each decision is a reflection of our most authentic self. It's important to recognize that following your heart is not always about making giant leaps or dramatic changes. Sometimes it's about making small, consistent choices that bring you closer to life that feels true to you. It's about saying yes to opportunities that align with your passions and saying no to things that drain your energy or take you off course. Every moment offers the chance to realign with your heart's desires and to take action that honors your true path. When you trust your heart, you create a life that is full of purpose, joy, and meaning. And when you live a life that feels authentic to you, not only do you experience greater personal fulfillment, but you also inspire others to do the same. Living from the heart has a ripple effect. When you follow your truth, you give permission for others to follow theirs. So trust your heart. It knows the way. And by following its guidance, you will create a life that is uniquely yours, one that feels rich with meaning and aligned with your deepest purpose. Living authentically is one of the most powerful and liberating choices we can make in life. To live authentically means to embrace who you truly are unapologetically and without compromise. It means being true to your values, desires, and passions and making decisions that align with your deepest self, regardless of external pressures or expectations. But so many of us, out of fear, habit, or societal conditioning, hold ourselves back from this kind of life. We hide parts of ourselves, suppress our true thoughts and emotions, and prioritize what we should do over what we truly want to do. As a result, we end up living lives that are not fully our own, filled with regret, unfulfilled potential, and a longing for something more. The truth is, living authentically isn't just a nice idea, it's essential for our well-being. When we suppress who we are, we begin to experience a disconnect, a sense of unease that we may not always be able to pinpoint. This dissonance shows up as frustration, burnout, or a quiet voice inside that says, "This isn't me." Living in alignment with our true self is not just a path to personal fulfillment, but also the key to unlocking our fullest potential. When we give ourselves permission to show up as we are without fear or hesitation, we free ourselves to pursue what excites us, what challenges us, and what fills us with purpose. But to live authentically, we must first stop seeking external validation. Many of us spend years or even lifetimes trying to gain approval from others, trying to meet the standards set by society, family, or peers. We believe that if we live up to their expectations, we will be happy and fulfilled. But in truth, the more we base our decisions on what others think, the further we stray from who we truly are. The key to living authentically is learning to trust ourselves and our own inner guidance. It means letting go of the fear of judgment, rejection, or criticism, and instead focusing on what feels right in our hearts. Living authentically requires boldness. It means stepping into the world as your true self, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels risky. It means saying yes to opportunities that excite you and saying no to things that drain your energy or lead you away from your purpose. Boldness is not about being fearless, but about acting in spite of fear. When we live boldly, we acknowledge that fear is a natural part of the process, but we do not let it dictate our choices. Instead, we act despite it, trusting that the rewards of living authentically far outweigh the discomfort of stepping outside our comfort zones. This boldness, however, doesn't mean recklessness. It's about courageously aligning with our own truth, even if it goes against the grain of what others expect or approve of. It's about honoring your own journey and recognizing that your path may look different from those around you. When you make decisions from a place of authenticity, you no longer feel the need to compare yourself to others. You understand that your unique experiences, perspectives, and gifts are valuable and they have a place in this world. Living authentically and boldly also means taking responsibility for your life and your choices. You are the author of your own story, and you have the power to create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling. This may require letting go of the old narratives that no longer serve you stories about who you should be, about what you should achieve, or about the version of yourself that you think others expect you to be. When you release those expectations, you make space for your true self to emerge, and you begin to live with greater ease, joy, and alignment. The courage to live authentically and boldly can transform not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. When you live in alignment with your truth, you inspire others to do the same. Your authenticity becomes a beacon of possibility for others to find their own path, live with intention, and embrace their true selves. So take that step. Live authentically. Be bold. Trust yourself, follow your passions, and create a life that is uniquely yours. The world needs you to show up as your truest self without hesitation or fear. Live with the understanding that you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. The time to be fully you is now.